trying to explain this story in frustration. If I had one opportunity, it's really hard to do, but we're going to try. 2019, I was in I was under the care of psychiatric care at the VA, Knoxville VA clinic in Tennessee. Now, I'd had issues prior to moving to Tennessee with medications. And prescribed different meds to counteract different side effects. Long story short. Anyway, in 2019, there was a domestic disturbance, domestic assault that happened, and I ended up in jail. Now, for me to have fought that would detract or negate the experience, and it wouldn't do the victims justice for me to fight it and have it erased from my record. But at the time, those are some of the initial thoughts that could go through your head. Is this is not me? I didn't mean to. I didn't do this. This is not normal. And you don't want to. You want to minimize the damage. It's it's human nature. It's to try and damage control. You have to keep in mind, I was also still under heavy effects of the medications. They actually had to bring in medication from outside the jail because they didn't have that med in the jail. They had to bring it in from the VA or another source to get me the med because I was detoxing off of it. It was horrible. Anyways, out of jail, it's I get linked up with Garza, who is a retired Marine. I walk into his office, he's got his plaques up, his K-bar, all this stuff. He seems like a upstanding family kind of man, a prominent member of the community. We make a gentleman's agreement on how I'm going to pay for his services, and he does his job. He reaches out to the victim, or he sends a private investigator or something, and he wants to do his part of the process. And we start going to court. I'm still doped up, and I'm still feeling really guilty at the time, but I'm still like, it's still surreal to me, and I'm taking the meds. I feel like maybe if, what I'm still playing the poor sick veteran. I'm still stuck in that mentality. It's my PTSD, it's my traumatic brain injuries that made me do this. I need to keep taking the meds. That's the cycle I'm stuck in, or was. And I was angry after it all said and done that I have a conviction of domestic on my record. Because it doesn't look good. It bars you from doing going down a lot of career paths, such as first responder, EMS, anything with patient care. Bars you from working in certain career fields, right? Firearms. Which the firearms thing doesn't really bother me because I haven't really owned firearms since I left the military. It was not really an interest of mine. I get by without that stuff just fine in life. But it's a combination of things. Anyways, So it was kind of upsetting. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to do this now. I'm not going to be able to do that now. Blah, 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 blah. In hindsight, right? But, it seems this is a hard thing to talk about. I was always that person that said it would never be me. I would never hurt someone like that. Especially someone that I love and care about. Till it happens. But why did it happen? I'm partially to blame. I mean, I have all the responsibility. It's all me. That's the only reason why it happened in the eyes of the law, is because of me. But if you're a competent person, if you're a logical person, do the investigation. Were there pharmaceutical interactions causing these side effects, instigating the scene? And you go back, check the history, the patient history, and the care. I've been in the care of the VA pretty steady now since 2011. Those are treatments for TBI, traumatic brain injury, and PTSD. At one point it was ADHD, and then they re-diagnosed things. But if you go back and check all the different things that happened since starting that trial of venlafaxine or Effexor, any reasonable person would probably say, like, hey, maybe it's these meds. I don't know. Part of the issue is I switched from the Midwest to Tennessee. So Tennessee, Knoxville inherited all that, and they go off of what the patient charge from prior doctors or prescribers say. So it's also not entirely all, like I said before, the doctor's fault. But that's how people get away with stuff sometimes, and it's frustrating. I just have to say that, it's frustrating. I'm stuck holding the all the evidence or all the incriminating stuff while everyone made their getaway. Dr. Simpson popped smoke and he left. He retired. I got out of jail and he was gone. Literally retired. I was assigned to another doctor. Anyways, y'all, it's hard to talk about. It doesn't look good, but I've accepted that. And I don't want it expunged off my record because it happened, and it would take away from the experiences of my ex-wife and my daughter. But for those of you who are looking to rebuild your lives, there are ways to do that and still keep your record. So I guess there's you could see a judge about getting your rights restored, your gun rights, and your working, like if your conviction bars you from doing certain things and you've changed your life around, you can go in front of a judge and have things, you basically get a license to operate again, for certain things. Now, it's not a guarantee you're going to get a job doing what you used to do again, but it gives you a chance. You can get your right to bear arms back or whatever. or if you were a firefighter, you potentially get a chance at working as a first responder again. It's not guaranteed and it's rare, but it's possible. Or if you have a bunch of money and you know people, you can do what Jelly Roll did and just get like a pardon. Although I don't think any of his crimes were domestic related. There are laws in Tennessee that prevent domestic crimes from being erased or expunged, which is a good thing. I'll be honest with you. I never wanted to be known as a domestic violencer or whatever, but it happened. It was a misdemeanor domestic that happened. I think that there's more to it than you would realize. And I think the pharmaceutical trials that the VA had me on are a big part of why that happened. You go back to the 2019 into 2020 after the conviction, me and my wife go back to the VA and we want to know why this happened. We get hooked up in couples therapy. And this is when things get, I think, weird again. They start giving us homework and encouraging us to get into intimate interactions again after this domestic incident. At the time, I'm still doped up and medicated on the venlafaxine. They started stripping away some of the stuff, but it didn't occur to me at the time. This is years later where I'm now starting to clear. I finally detoxed off of all the meds they had me on. And I'm going back and looking and piecing together all the pieces. And it's just weird.